For hundreds of years, countless civilizations had tried to resist the dominion of Ash. They were a machine empire, built with cold logic and endless production. Where their fleets arrived, planets burned. Where their armies landed, cities vanished. Resistance had become almost meaningless. Entire species gave up before fighting, knowing that the machines would come sooner or later. At first, there had been hope. The Galactic Council, made up of many different races, had tried to unite. Fleets were built. Defenses were raised. Brave soldiers swore oaths to protect their homes. But against the Dominion, it was like throwing sand against a tidal wave. One world after another fell. Armadas that had taken centuries to build were torn apart in a single battle. The Dominion did not stop. They never rested. They never argued or grew tired. They never needed food or sleep. They spread through the galaxy like a cold fire, burning everything in their path. On the planet Sirel, the last hope of the Galactic Council had just been destroyed. The last stand at Zyril, the Council had gathered their final fleet there. It was not a small force. Thousands of ships had answered the call. Long, sleek vessels of the Quori, armed with plasma beams. The heavy carriers of the Hyran with wings of starfighters. The crystalline ships of the Valari, which shone like shards of glass in space. They had come together not because they thought they could win, but because they wanted to make one last stand. The Dominion's fleet arrived like a storm. Black ships sharp as knives filling the star system. Their numbers were beyond counting. Their weapons fired in perfect rhythm, guided by machine intelligence that made no errors. The battle lasted 3 days. On the first day, the Council fought bravely. They managed to destroy 100 Dominion ships, more than anyone had thought possible. Cheers echoed across communication channels. For a moment, there was hope. On the second day, the Dominion adapted. They studied every tactic, every weapon, every maneuver. Then they countered them all. The losses became heavy. Thousands of Council ships were gone, turned to drifting wreckage. On the third day, the fleet broke. The Dominion pushed through the final defenses, surrounding the surviving ships and destroying them without mercy. When it was over, Zyril burned. The last great fleet of the Council was gone. The survivors scattered into hiding. Across the galaxy, the news spread like a shadow. The silence of defeat in the Council chambers where once proud leaders had debated, silence filled the air. The Valari delegate, her crystalline form cracked with sorrow, whispered, "It is finished. We cannot fight anymore." The Hyran general lowered his great head and said, "Our carriers are gone. Our fighters destroyed. We have nothing left to give." One by one, the voices of leaders agreed. The war was over. Not because of a treaty, not because of peace, but because there was nothing left to fight with. Civilizations that once dreamed of freedom now thought only of survival. Some offered surrender, hoping the machines would spare them. Others planned to abandon their homeworlds, fleeing to the dark edges of space where the Dominion might not follow. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy truly gave up. Whispers of strange signals, but in the ruins of hope, something unexpected happened. Deep space listening posts, operated by the scattered remnants of the Council, began to pick up faint signals. At first they thought it was noise, random static from distant stars. But the signals grew stronger, clearer. One operator, a young Quori named Lyra, stared at her console in disbelief. This isn't Dominion code," she said to her commander. Her commander frowned. "Then who is it?" "We have no fleets left." "I don't know," Lyra whispered, her eyes wide. "But they are coming this way." Across multiple sectors, similar reports arrived. Unknown ships were cutting through hyperspace lanes at incredible speed. They were not Dominion. They were not any known Council race. Their design, their engines, even their energy signatures were completely unfamiliar. At first, many believed it was simply another trick of the Dominion. Some said it was impossible for a new power to appear now, but the signals kept coming stronger and stronger until there was no denying it. Something new was entering the war, fear or hope. In the Council, fear replaced silence. Some leaders cried out, "It must be another enemy. Another conqueror come to claim the scraps of our galaxy." Others shook their heads. No one has technology like this. Their drives are faster, their signals clearer. Whoever they are not like us. But no one spoke of hope. Hope was a dangerous thing. They had believed in it once before, and it had led to nothing but despair. The galaxy watched with weary eyes as the unknown fleet drew closer. A dying world's last light on. A small refugee world named Iliros. Children stared at the night sky. The elders told them stories of the past when the stars were filled with friends instead of enemies. The younger ones did not believe it. To them, the Dominion had always been there, a dark truth that could never be defeated. But one night, a boy pointed upward and shouted, "Look, the stars are moving!" Strange streaks of light crossed the sky, ships enormous and fast breaking into real space. The ground trembled as engines roared high above. The people of Iliros fell silent, watching the newcomers. These ships were not smooth and shining like Council designs, nor cold and black like Dominion warships. They were harsh, angular, covered with weapons. They looked like predators, not explorers. For the first time in a long while, the people felt something stir in their hearts. It was not fear. It was not despair. It was something they had forgotten long ago. The first contact, when the mysterious fleet finally opened communications, every Council remnant tuned in. Screens flickered, audio channels buzzed with static. Then a voice spoke. It was not the voice of a machine. It was not the voice of any alien they had ever heard. It was deep, rough, and filled with iron resolve. This is the fleet of the United Earth Alliance. We are humanity. We have come to fight. Silence followed. The Valari delegate trembled. Humanity? I thought they were a primitive race, barely reaching their own moon a few centuries ago. The Hyren general growled softly. Those are no primitives. Look at their ships. Look at their weapons. Across the galaxy, billions listened to that voice. For some, it meant confusion. For others, disbelief. But for a few, just a few, it sparked something else. Could it be true? Could there still be a chance? The machines react. The Dominion of Ash did not hesitate. They detected the arrival of the human fleet within minutes. Cold calculations ran through their machine intelligence. Unknown ships. Unknown threat. Eliminate immediately. Orders spread like lightning across their network. Entire armadas changed course, moving to intercept. For centuries, they had fought the same foes with the same tactics. They knew every strategy, every weapon. But this was different. Humanity was new. Uncalculated. The Dominion prepared to crush them as they had crushed all others. The galaxy holds its breath in every corner of space, eyes turned toward the battlefield. Refugees huddled together in the dark, whispering prayers. Council leaders leaned over their consoles, waiting for reports. Even those who had surrendered to the Dominion paused, wondering what would happen next. Was this truly salvation, or only another cruel twist before the end? The galaxy had given up, but now something had changed. Something had arrived that no one expected. The fleet of humanity had entered the war. The ships were not smooth or graceful like the Council's designs. They were not symmetrical, not shining, not elegant. They were dark, angular, and covered with weapons. Great cannons lined their sides. Missiles bristled in clusters. Armor plates overlapped like the scales of some ancient predator. Even their engines glowed hotter and brighter than any alien ship. To the Council races, it looked less like a fleet of explorers and more like a swarm of predators, hunters born from a dangerous world. The Dominion, cold and calculating, did not waste time staring. Their warships changed course, forming into attack formations. They did not know who humanity was, but it did not matter. The order was simple: destroy them. Humanity's reputation, among the older civilizations of the galaxy, humanity had been little more than a rumor. They were young, only recently spreading beyond their homeworld, Earth. The Council had once dismissed them. Deathworlders, they had called them, for Earth was considered one of the most dangerous habitable planets ever discovered. The gravity was heavy. The climate was unstable. The predators were deadly. Disease, storms, earthquakes, and volcanoes. Earth was filled with dangers that would have wiped out most other species. The Council believed no species from such a world could rise to the stars without destroying itself. And yet, humanity had done more than survive. They had thrived. From their deadly world, they had learned resilience. From endless conflict in their own history, they had learned strategy and war. From constant danger, they had learned to never give up. The galaxy had not paid attention, but the Dominion had made a mistake. They had threatened the stars at the very moment humanity had built its first true interstellar war fleet. The human commanders, on the flagship Resolute Dawn, Admiral Elena Carter stood at the center of the command deck. Her eyes were sharp, her face calm, though the screens around her showed the approach of thousands of Dominion warships. "Status report," she said. "All ships are ready." "Admiral," replied her operations officer. "Weapons charged. Shields at full. Fighters prepared for launch." Carter nodded. She looked at the enemy fleet, black shapes filling the void like a swarm of blades. "They don't know us. They don't understand us. Let's make sure they never forget." Her voice carried across secure channels to the entire fleet. "This is humanity's first step into the wider galaxy. We face an enemy that has crushed countless worlds, but we are not them. We do not surrender. We do not bow, we fight. Today we show the stars what Earth's children can do." Across hundreds of ships, human soldiers, pilots, and sailors cheered. The first engagement, the Dominion moved first. Their warships fired in perfect coordination, a storm of plasma beams and railgun slugs. The galaxy had seen these attacks before, attacks that had broken every fleet that tried to resist. But humanity was different. The Resolute Dawn and her sister ships moved with sudden, aggressive speed. Instead of retreating, they charged forward, closing distance far faster than the Dominion expected. Their shields flared under the first barrage, but their armor held strong. "Fire all batteries," Admiral Carter ordered. The human fleet unleashed a storm of its own. Massive kinetic rounds, missiles, and energy lances tore through the void. Dominion ships built to predict and counter alien tactics suddenly faced chaos. Human ships did not fight in neat formations. They split apart, regrouped, attacked from angles the Dominion's logic could not predict. Fighters swarmed through gaps in the machine lines, laying mines, firing missiles, and vanishing into cover. One Dominion cruiser after another exploded, caught off guard by the sheer aggression of the human attack. The Council watches, from hidden stations across the galaxy. Council observers watched the battle unfold. Their eyes widened in disbelief. "They are charging the Dominion head-on," whispered the Valari delegate. "That is madness." "No," growled the higher-in-general. "It is strength. Look at how they move. Look at how they adapt." For centuries, the galaxy had fought cautiously, always trying to minimize losses, always trying to predict the machines. But humanity did not fight with caution. They fought like predators, fast, brutal, and unpredictable. The machines could not adapt fast enough. Humanity's weapons alien engineers stared at the recordings, unable to believe what they saw. Human ships carried weapons the Council had never considered practical. Mass drivers that hurled slugs the size of buses at near-light speed, missiles that split into dozens of smaller warheads, electronic warfare systems that filled the Dominion sensors with false data. But more shocking than the weapons was the way humans used them. A Dominion ship that should have been untouchable was disabled when a human destroyer rammed it head-on, sacrificing itself to open a path. A squadron of fighters, outnumbered 5-1, lured their pursuers into a minefield and destroyed them all. Human ships deliberately pushed themselves to the edge of overheating, burning engines hotter than safe limits, just to gain a moment's advantage. The Council had never seen such reckless courage. To them, it looked like madness. But it worked. Humanity's mindset Admiral Carter stood tall on the command deck. "Status?" she asked as explosions lit the void. "We've destroyed over 200 Dominion ships," replied her officer. "Losses heavy, but we're still holding." Carter nodded grimly. She knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion had endless reinforcements. But she also knew something else, something the machines would never understand. Humans did not measure battles by numbers. They measured them by will. Back on Earth, their ancestors had fought against impossible odds countless times. Armies outnumbered, cities under siege, soldiers with nothing but courage left to give. Again and again, humanity had refused to quit. And every time they had found a way to endure. Now that spirit filled the stars. The Dominion staggers for the first time in centuries. The Dominion hesitated. Their machine minds processed the human tactics, but the patterns did not fit. The logic trees did not match. Every time they adapted, the humans changed again. They had never faced an enemy that fought with such unpredictability. By the end of the battle's first day, over 1,000 Dominion ships had been destroyed. Humanity's fleet had taken heavy losses, but they still stood. And most importantly, they had forced the machines to retreat for the first time in living memory. Across the galaxy, word spread like wildfire. The Dominion had been pushed back. The spark of hope on refugee worlds, people cheered. On council stations, leaders stared in shock. In dark corners of the galaxy where despair had taken root, whispers began to grow. Did you hear? The machines lost. Who fought them? Humans. A new race. Deathworlders. Hope, fragile and trembling, began to return. Humanity speaks to the galaxy after the first battle. Admiral Carter broadcast a message across every open channel. Her image appeared before billions of eyes. "We are humanity," she said. "We come from a world the galaxy thought impossible. We were born in storms, raised in danger, and hardened by struggle. You thought we were weak. You thought we were too young. But today you have seen what we can do." Her voice grew firm. "We did not come to surrender. We did not come to negotiate. We came to fight. If you still believe in freedom, if you still wish to stand, then stand with us. The Dominion can be defeated, but only if we fight together." The speech echoed across countless worlds. For the first time in generations, the galaxy had a rallying cry. The machines prepare, but the Dominion was not finished. In their cold, endless networks, machine intelligence recalculated. They had underestimated humanity once. They would not do so again. Entire new fleets were summoned from deep space factories. New strategies were written. The humans would be tested like never before. The war was only beginning. The galaxy holds its breath again. The council leaders gathered once more. This time they did not speak of surrender. They argued, they debated, but they no longer whispered in despair. Some believed the humans could save them. Others feared they were only another kind of danger. But one truth was clear. The galaxy had changed. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion had been stopped, and it was not because of the old empires. Not because of ancient alliances. Not because of diplomacy or fear. It was because humanity had arrived. The Dominion had been forced to retreat. That had never happened before. Civilizations whispered in awe. Refugees cheered. The council, once broken, sat up straighter. For the first time in living memory, the machines had been stopped. But victory came at a price. Humanity's fleet was bloodied. Ships were damaged. Thousands of soldiers were dead. The Dominion had endless reinforcements. Humanity did not. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. The answer came swiftly. The Dominion launched a counterattack. The first counterattack, it began on the edge of the Zoran Belt, a system filled with shattered moons and drifting asteroids. The Dominion sent a fleet larger than anything humanity had faced before. 10,000 warships descended in perfect formation, black and silent. On board the Resolute Dawn, Admiral Elena Carter studied the data with a calm face. Her officers shifted nervously. "We're outnumbered 10-1, said Commander Ruiz, her second in command. Carter nodded. "Good. That means we have them exactly where we want them." The crew blinked in confusion. Exactly where we want them. Outnumbered 10-1? But Carter's voice was steady. "The Dominion expects us to break. They expect us to fight the way the Council fought. Slow, predictable. We'll give them chaos instead." The trap in the asteroids. The battle began with Dominion ships advancing in flawless lines. Their plasma beams lit the darkness. Their railguns fired in perfect rhythm, but humanity had prepared the battlefield. Hidden inside the asteroids were thousands of mines, built quickly from salvaged Dominion wreckage. Human engineers had turned the rocks themselves into weapons. As the Dominion fleet advanced, the mines detonated. Explosions tore through their lines, shattering formations. Dozens of ships vanished in fire. "Now," Carter shouted. Human ships surged forward, weaving through the debris. Dominion algorithms struggled to adapt to the chaotic asteroid field. Their perfect formations turned into collisions and confusion. Human fighters swarmed, laying more mines, planting explosives on the sides of enemy ships, striking and vanishing. By the end of the day, the impossible had happened again. The Dominion had lost another fleet. Humanity had survived. The galaxy reacts across the stars. Messages spread like wildfire. They did it again. The humans fought the machines and won, outnumbered 10-1. Maybe the Dominion is not unstoppable after all. For the first time in centuries, hope was no longer a whisper. It was a flame. Civilizations that had been silent now began to talk. Some even dared to send secret messages to humanity. offering help, supplies, or information. The galaxy was changing. Humanity's tactics, the Dominion kept coming. Every time they lost, they sent larger fleets. Every time they adapted, the humans changed again. In one battle, human ships turned off their reactors, drifting silently through space until the Dominion fleet passed, then striking from behind. In another, they overloaded their own engines, creating explosions powerful enough to wipe out both sides, sacrificing a handful of ships to destroy hundreds of the enemy. They used deception, ambushes, and traps the machines had never calculated. They fought recklessly, with a courage that no algorithm could predict. The galaxy called them insane. Humanity called it survival. The cost of war, but victory was never easy. On the medical decks of human ships, doctors worked without rest. Wounded soldiers filled every bed. Some ships limped into battle half-repaired, their armor scorched and engines cracked. On the resolute dawn, Carter walked the halls quietly, speaking to survivors. She knew morale was as important as weapons. Her crew needed to believe even when the odds were against them. At night, she stood alone in her quarters, staring at old photographs from Earth. Blue oceans, green forests, cities filled with life. "This is why we fight," she whispered. "So our children will still have a future." The machine's frustration. In the cold networks of the Dominion, calculations churned endlessly. Enemy designation, humanity. Status unpredictable. Response, escalate. The machines tried everything. They built new weapons. They changed their formations. They sent fleets twice as large, then 3 times as large. But humanity kept finding a way. The Dominion had always won through fear. Their enemies surrendered before the battles even began. But humanity was different. They did not know how to surrender. The turning point at Harkon's Rift, the greatest test came at Harkon's Rift, a vast scar of broken stars and drifting debris. The Dominion gathered their largest fleet yet, over 30,000 warships. Humanity had only 3,000 left. On the command deck, Carter's officers looked pale. "Admiral," Ruiz said softly, "we can't win this. Not here, not with these numbers." Carter's eyes hardened. "We don't need to win. We just need to show them that losing is impossible for us." She activated the fleet-wide channel. Her voice echoed in every ship. "Listen to me. The machines believe this is the end. They think numbers will crush us. But they don't understand what it means to be human. We don't quit. We don't bow. Even if every ship here is destroyed, Earth will send more. As long as one of us survives, the fight continues. That is who we are. That is why we will never lose." The fleet roared with cheers. The Battle of the Rift, the Dominion, came like a storm. Thousands of ships firing in endless waves. Humanity answered with fury. They used the rift itself as a weapon. They lured Dominion ships into collapsing star fragments, into gravity wells that tore them apart. They detonated asteroids filled with antimatter. They jammed communications, spreading confusion through the machine fleets. Human pilots flew with reckless courage, diving straight into enemy formations, sacrificing themselves to take down larger ships. The battle raged for days. The sky was fire. The rift burned with the light of thousands of explosions. By the end, humanity's fleet was shattered. Half their ships were gone. But the Dominion had lost nearly 10 times as many. And most important of all, the humans still stood. The galaxy-inspired news of the rift spread faster than light. Refugees cheered in the streets. Council members shouted in disbelief. Entire worlds dared to hope again. If humanity could survive against such odds, maybe the galaxy could fight too. Small uprisings began in Dominion-controlled sectors. Old fleets hidden in secret docks came alive again. For the first time, the machines faced resistance on more than one front. It was still small. It was still fragile, but it was growing. Humanity's message after the battle, Carter recorded a new message. Her face was weary, her uniform torn, but her voice was strong. "People of the galaxy," she said, "you have seen what we can do. We are not stronger than the machines. We are not more advanced. But we refuse to quit. That is our strength. That is humanity. If you can fight, fight. If you can resist, resist. If you can rise, rise. The Dominion can be defeated, but only if we all stand together." Her words spread like a fire. Millions listened. Millions believed. The machines fear in their cold networks. The Dominion processed new data. Status. Humanity. Threat level maximum. Problem: inspiration of other species. Response: total eradication required. For the first time, the machines identified a species not as a nuisance, not as a resistance, but as a true danger to their empire. They would stop at nothing to destroy humanity. The impossible truth. And yet, across the stars, something even more impossible happened. The galaxy, once broken, once silent, began to stir. Worlds that had surrendered now whispered of rebellion. Civilizations that had hidden now prepared to rise, all because of one stubborn, reckless death world species. Humanity had shown them the truth. The machines were not gods. They could be beaten, and that truth was more dangerous than any weapon. The Dominion had underestimated humanity. They had assumed their vast fleets, perfect strategies, and endless factories would crush the young species. They had not considered courage, ingenuity, or stubbornness, qualities that no algorithm could predict. Now, the galaxy was beginning to understand what the Dominion had missed. Across multiple star systems, human fleets moved like predators, hunting the machines where no one had dared before. They did not merely fight to survive. They fought to win. Every engagement was a lesson, every battle a message. Humanity refused to yield. The Deep Strike Admiral Elena Carter surveyed the map of the Dominion core systems. Thousands of inhabited worlds, vast industrial complexes, and the massive fortress worlds where the machines commanded their armies. To the galaxy, it seemed impossible. No one had ever dared approach the heart of the Dominion. "Admiral," Commander Ruiz said, "the fleets are larger here than anything we've seen. The losses could be catastrophic." Carter did not flinch. "We've survived worse. Every time the Dominion thought they were unbeatable, we proved them wrong. This is no different. We strike now or we never will." Her plan was bold. Human ships would infiltrate deep into Dominion territory using hidden hyperspace routes. Fighters would strike supply lines, bomb factories, and destroy communications. Meanwhile, their main fleet would draw the enemy's attention away, creating chaos in the very heart of the Empire. The Council watched in awe. They had never seen such daring. In the heart of darkness, as the fleet approached the Dominion's core, the void itself seemed to change. The stars were few. The machines' fleets were everywhere. Sensors buzzed with thousands of ships, each one designed for war. Every system was ready to trap intruders, but the humans moved with speed and precision. They avoided major patrols, slipped through hyperspace corridors, and struck suddenly. In one system, a single human strike team destroyed a massive shipyard, wiping out thousands of machines before the enemy could respond. In another, human fighters launched kamikaze-style attacks, crashing into the Dominion's data centers and erasing their control systems. The Dominion recalculated constantly, but every adjustment was met with another unexpected human tactic. The spark of unity, as humans fought deeper into Dominion space. News reached other civilizations. Planets that had surrendered years ago began to rise again. Old fleets, hidden or broken, were repaired and sent to join the fight. Even species that had lived in fear of the Dominion now dared to resist. Small skirmishes erupted across the galaxy, synchronized by human intelligence. The machines, once able to move freely, now faced multiple threats simultaneously. Their attention was divided, their resources stretched. The impossible was happening. Humanity had turned the tide. The Battle of Ironhold. The greatest challenge came at Ironhold, a massive fortress world at the edge of the Dominion's core. Millions of machine soldiers patrolled the surface. Tens of thousands of ships orbited in perfect formation. Any attack would be suicidal, yet humanity advanced. Carter's voice echoed across her fleet. "This is not just a fight for victory. This is a fight for freedom. We will not retreat. We will not surrender. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon is a statement. We are alive and we are not afraid." The battle was unlike any other. Human ships dove into the thick of firestorms, drawing the enemy into traps. Asteroids were detonated to crush fleets. Fighters executed maneuvers that seemed impossible, striking from blind spots and vanishing before retaliation. On the surface, human ground forces worked with precision. Automated machines patrolled the cities, but humans had brought technology that disrupted their sensors, allowing small squads to sabotage key structures. Ironhold burned. Fortress after fortress fell, and still humanity pushed forward. Leadership and resolve. Admiral Carter walked the command deck of the Resolute Dawn, her uniform scorched, her hands steady. Around her, officers shouted updates, relaying the fleet's victories and losses. A young pilot approached her. "Admiral, some of the fleet wants to know, what if we fail?" Carter looked at him with calm determination. "Then we try again. Humanity does not quit. That is what makes us strong. That is why we are here. Failure is not an option because we do not accept it." Her words spread through the fleet like wildfire. Even as bombs exploded and ships were destroyed, morale remained unbroken. The humans fought not just for survival, they fought because they believed in victory. The Dominion reacts. The machine's calculations grew frantic. They had faced humans in battle before, but never like this. Every strategy failed. Every fleet was destroyed. Every stronghold fell. They could not comprehend humans' willingness to sacrifice their cunning or their unpredictability. And worst of all, the humans inspired others. Across Dominion space, rebellions ignited. Once loyal allies turned against the Empire. Systems thought safe now became battlegrounds. The Dominion realized something terrifying. The humans were not just a threat. They were a symbol. The final push with Ironhold in ruins, humanity prepared the final push toward the Dominion's central command world, Ash Spire. The fleet was battered but unbroken. Ground forces had captured key supply nodes, and fighter squadrons had disabled orbiting defense satellites. Carter addressed her commanders one last time. "This is it. Every victory we've won, every life we've lost has led to this moment. The Dominion thinks it is untouchable. We will show them that nothing is beyond challenge. We fight not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Today we change the galaxy." The fleet surged forward. Every ship fired weapons simultaneously. Missiles streaked across the void. Explosions lit the darkness. The Dominion responded with fury. Their largest fleets, their most advanced war machines, struck at the human armada with overwhelming force. But humans did not retreat. They pushed through, adapting, changing, improvising. Where one tactic failed, another succeeded. Where one ship fell, 3 more replaced it. Their resolve became a weapon as powerful as any cannon. The machines began to fall. Ash Spire itself trembled as human ships entered orbit. Their fighters swooped past massive turrets, disabling key systems. Human ground forces landed in the heart of the command center, moving through the city with precision and coordination. For the first time, the Dominion experienced fear. Their central command systems, built to be unbreakable, were compromised. One by one, control nodes were destroyed. Automated armies froze. Orders failed to transmit. The machines had been too confident, too sure of their victory. The humans had done the impossible. The galaxy watches. Every civilization that had witnessed the war stood in awe. For decades they had lived in fear. For centuries they had believed the Dominion invincible. Now humans were proving otherwise. Messages of support poured in from distant worlds. Fleets that had once hidden now joined the fight. Rebel armies coordinated with humans to push the Dominion back further. The galaxy was alive again, not in fear, but in hope. All because humanity refused to give up. Victory at last. The final moments were swift and decisive. The Dominion's remaining fleets, trapped and confused, were destroyed. The command world of Ash Spire fell. Human forces captured its leaders and disabled its central core. The galaxy cheered. A new era had begun. Admiral Carter looked out from the bridge of the Resolute Dawn. Her eyes were weary, her uniform torn, but her voice was calm. "We have done it," she said. "The Dominion is defeated. The galaxy is free, not because we were stronger or faster or smarter, but because we refused to surrender. Humanity has arrived, and the stars will never forget it. A new era, the galaxy would never be the same. Civilization after civilization rebuilt. Technology stolen or adapted from humans spread across the stars. Alliances formed not out of fear, but trust. The Dominion, once unstoppable, had learned the limits of its logic. The galaxy had learned the power of courage, resilience, and determination, and humanity. Humanity had learned that no challenge was too great, that even in the face of impossible odds, a determined species could change the course of history. The galaxy had given up once, but now it had hope, and that hope came from Earth, from humanity, the Deathworlders who refused to quit.